Hello there. Welcome to day 6 of 31 Day Countdown to a more powerful, confident you in 2022. I want to talk today about the power of your story. The story that you tell yourself is the linchpin between everything. If you're on a path that you feel like you just can't change, it's in the story. If you're not where you want to be, it's the story you tell yourself. We all have our stories. We all know what we say and how we think, but it's the power behind the story. You know, I talked about stories a couple days ago because it's so profound that it impacts everything you do. And it's not the overarching story. It could be the story that, you're going to an event and you get to the event, you can't find your tickets, so you have to dig for your tickets. Then you get to go stand in line to get something to eat or to buy a beer, and the line's all long, and you're realizing you're missing the concert because you're standing in line. And you tell yourself the story that this always happens to me. Nothing works out. If you tell yourself that story, that's what you get. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the why and really kind of start launching into how to recognize the story you're telling yourself so you can recreate it. Because stories can be recreated, but you have to get to each story that you tell yourself for each event. Because you, in some cases, may have the most empowering story. You may be able to walk among 500 people with no problem, talking to everybody, being as social as could be. But then you'll get into another thing where you crumble. You just can't handle it. It's the story. So whenever you have a behavior that you're thinking, I'm not really a fan of this behavior, what are you telling yourself? What is running from your past childhood that you're repeating over and over to yourself? That I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, who am I? Why do I think I can do this? I'm not like everybody else. For a long time, I always felt like I had a weight problem, and I always felt like it was just from, just how I was made, till I realized that's really not true. But that was the story I told myself. I had a speech impediment as a child. I still do. I always act like it went away. It never goes away. And I still have trouble saying my R's and my S's, and I trip over my words. Especially if I'm tired or I'm not enunciating or I'm trying to get my thought out quickly. And it still kind of bothers me when people are like, I don't understand. What's wrong with you? Or, what did you just say? Because the story I told myself for so long is because of that, I'm not smart. Because clearly, if you have a speech impediment, you're not smart. So the whole way through school, I lived out that truth. I wasn't smart. And I graduated in the very bottom of my class. And I'm going to have to go look up. I wonder if I can still find those records to see what my final GPA was. But I'm guessing it wasn't very good, because when I graduated and walked across the dais, I had to look and see if my diploma was signed, because I wasn't even sure about that. Because I told myself the story that because I had a speech impediment, I wasn't smart. Therefore, I wasn't worthy. It just encapsulated a lot. But it took me a long time to get to that story because I had so many other stories running. So when something upsets you, and if I would have known these techniques years ago when I would fumble over my words, I would think, okay, it's lighting that fuse about taking, speech class. And it's funny because I've done public speaking my whole life, since high school. I mean, when I joined the military, I was a nurse. I've always been out in front of the public speaking, but I still had that little nuance going. Just like if I'm doing something and people laugh at me, it used to just wind me up, and I would again just shut down. Because having a speech impediment, people laughed at me, and people laughed at me because I wasn't smart. That's the story that you tell yourselves. So carry a notepad with you. Do whatever it takes so you can track the story that you tell. Because once you understand the story, recognizing it, which I want you to do now, and then recreating, because we kind of deconstruct the story, kind of take it down to its most basic level. Because chances are the story you tell yourself isn't really, it's the truth as you saw it, not the truth as it was, if that makes sense. I told myself, because I had a speech impediment, that I wasn't smart, and that I wasn't smart like everybody else, and I didn't deserve all the good things everybody else got, because clearly I wasn't smart. Not smart enough to go to college, which I end up with a 4-year degree, not smart enough to get a decent job. You know, my parents always told me to just, go work in a steel mill. And nothing wrong with working in a steel mill. I have a lot of friends back home that worked at a steel mill, and I ended up CEO of a company. So if I would have lived those stories and if I wouldn't have learned how to recognize them and recreate them, I don't know where I'd be. So let's take some time today and just get out a piece of paper and pencil and just write down a story you tell yourself. Over anything, just think over the past couple of weeks. And holidays always bring up stories because families at dinner, Thanksgiving, they love to talk about your foibles. And when my parents were alive and we all got together, families, my speech impediment always came up because they thought it was funny, the Rudy, silly Sally, but they didn't realize that it wasn't funny to me. So it's how I viewed it. Now I laugh. Now I think it is funny. So look at the story you just look at the power of your story so we can start recognizing it. Whatever kind of doesn't sit well with you, or when somebody touches on a nerve, write it down so we can start going through how to recreate that story. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments below or DM me, email me, whatever it takes, you guys. I want everybody at the end of this on December 31st, launching into January 1st, 2022, to be much more confident with who you are and just understand why you do what you do. Because confidence comes from just knowing who you are and being comfortable in your own skin. Being a snowflake, being uniquely you. Talk to you guys later. Here's to you finding your blue rose, reclaiming your confidence, taking back your power. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.